Hello, everybody. Welcome back to youtube.com/Geek.Aloud. This is the Gaming Enforcement Agency, episode 110. No Unky Dunky in the second slot this evening, but Bully is still third slotting us, holding us up. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing all right, and finally we can't blame Unky for being a little bit late off the get-go, so it gets a reprieve this week.
Very good. That being said, we are a little late, but we are indeed on duty. All right, viewers at home, what can I tell you? First up, games, interrogation, and deliberation. We have 1, 2, 3 games to get through this evening, followed by Bully's cold case. Bully, I hope you've got one locked and loaded, ready to roll.
I certainly have pulled one out of the archives.
I love it. We'll get onto that, and then we will find the most wanted for this upcoming week. Bully, I hope you've picked a good one.
Well, I won't give it too much away, but it might be dusting something else out of the cupboard as well.
Well, let's out of that. All right. And then, of course, we go into the gaming news of the week. That's definitely worth a mention here on the show. Bully, how many newsroom doors did you ram down and collect the goods from within?
Oh, smacked 3 down this week. Not a lot going on, but there is a little bit in it. So we'll get to that towards the end.
Very nice. With that being said, let's jump into games, interrogation, and deliberation. All right, first up this week is Blueprints. It came out on the Xbox via Game Pass, and it came out into the PlayStation Plus. Now, I've got the deluxe tier, Bully, so I had it free there as well. That's all I'll say, because I'll hand it over to you to lead investigate, sir. But was it a PlayStation Plus deluxe or premium tier or something?
I think it's the middle tier. I think it's on, because the base tier, it wasn't one of the 3 monthly games, so it was the next tier up, I think. But I've got the top tier, so... I'll just sort of get everything in, and there it was. But it sort of came out of nowhere. I hadn't really paid much attention to this one until it was mentioned by Unky last week. And then, as you mentioned, it jumped onto the services for free. So I thought, oh, well, it's there. I have heard a little bit of hype about it. I'll jump into it. I was not ready for how quickly this game was going to pull me in, and how it's, for those that haven't played it yet, it's basically a roguelike puzzle game, which sounds weird, but it actually works. So the basic premise as it is you are gifted this estate, this manor, as part of a will. You go in there, and basically the only room that ever stays the same in this manor is the opening foyer entrance, which has 3 doors leading off it. And then what you can do is, after entering each door, you get given a selection of blueprints, and that's where you get the name, obviously the play on words. Funnily enough, it took me a couple of days until my young fella came in and goes, "Blueprints, what does that mean?" And I go, "Oh, that's you're a doofus." But in any event, so you pick one of those blueprints, and then as you go through the door, you get the choice of that, and then that's the layout for the next section of room. So it's basically I think it's a 6. Oh, you can see on the screen there. So it's basically a 6 by 10, I think, sort of layout design. And the idea is that you've got to use these various rooms, link them together to try and get to a certain area. But before you get to there, that last room that you need to get to is locked off on all 3 sides. So you've got to work out how to open those doors. I'm not going to give too much away, because it does sort of lean into the puzzle element in terms of how you get there and then what you do after that and all that sort of stuff.
Just to briefly interject, if I can, mate, can you just confirm for me or not whether you've actually finished the game? Have you got into that final room?
I've got into that final room, and then there's another section after that you have to work through as well.
Very good. Please continue.
So I've done all that. I've finished the game. I think it took me about 12-ish hours to get through it, but that's probably an indication of the RNG that you get with each run that resets the layout of the mansion, and then what sort of blueprints you get. And then not even that, it's also the items that are randomly placed within each of those rooms as well. So some of them you'll get, like there's a storeroom that you can see you're walking into there. You'll always get a key, a coin, and a gem. But there's other rooms that you might go into that just randomly you might get a shovel, or you might get a sledgehammer, or something like that. But it's never the same room, and it's never in the same place. So you sort of got to work through that. The other element with this as well is, and you can see in the top left screen, the footprints and the number next to it. So you can only, that will count down every time you exit one room and into a next room. So you only get a certain amount of steps. You can re-up those those numbers by eating food or going into bedrooms will replenish it as well. So there is ways to do that, but it makes you really stop and think, okay, where am I going? What am I doing? Because I've only got a certain amount of movements within each day. Once you've got to a point where either you've run out of steps to be able to take, or you've played out the blueprints and you've come to a dead end that you can't go any further within that map and exit one of the rooms, because some of them are just dead end rooms. You can't go any further, or you might get a room that'll hook back to a left when you need it to go to a right. So the left door will then just be blocked because it's going into the wall of another room. So you sort of really got to play your way through it. It's as I was saying, it took me about 12 hours. I think Unky said it took him the better part of 30 hours, and he was having some horrendous RNG from his point of view in terms of the blueprints he was getting and the items he was getting in each room. The other part that is in it as well, there's a whole mystery behind the mansion and how it's inherited and the previous owner and all that sort of stuff that you sort of piece together through solving various puzzles within the mansion and all that sort of stuff. So it's got a bit of, it's not an in-your-face story, but it's one that you can sort of piece together as you're doing the multiple playthroughs. And then, so sort of at the end of when you've done a run and you either run out of steps or you've blocked yourself out, you then quit for the day. All the items that you had are gone, and you restart back in that foyer area again. So there is some items that you can unlock that are a permanent unlock, but there's not a lot. So you sort of really need to work those out, and it does help, some later runs, but there isn't, it's not your traditional style one of these type of games where you'll play through it, and because you played through it, you might get coins that you can spend in a shop that'll make your next run a lot easier. It's not really like that in terms of how it sort of plays through, but I really enjoyed it. As I said, it was one of those games that can get really frustrating really quickly depending on how the RNG works out for you. But I always found, just one more run. If I get this right, it's, I'll be able to get there, and it's one more run. And I spent last weekend basically just doing that. Oh, okay, I've had enough. This is annoying me. And then I'd come back 5 minutes later and go, I'll just have one more run. I've really enjoyed it. I think it's very much a sleeper hit for me. As I said at the start, I don't think a lot of people were sort of talking about it beforehand, but it is getting a little bit of traction. And I've heard some people sort of, talking about it in that game of the year category already. And that's probably where it sits for me. It's in that really top tier that I think we'll still be talking about this towards the end of the year. I don't know how much hands-on you've gone on with it, Troy, and your thoughts.
Yeah, so thank you, mate. I've put about 2 hours into it, and a few little particulars here I'll note. The first off, I installed it, I think it was 5 days ago on the Xbox Series X, and that installs up on the channel. I put about an hour into it on the Xbox, and very much to Unky's point, I was getting terrible rolls, getting nowhere. The story really wasn't doing it for me. Just quickly on that, I would love it if this game was audio diaries the way BioShock is, instead of making me read stuff. I'd enjoy that more. But so the story didn't grab me, too much reading, and then it was a bit slow for me. And so I put about an hour into it on the Xbox and then gave up on it. And then come today, I did the PS5, install, which is also available on the channel. And I put another hour into it today. And I've got to say, it was night and day difference. I noticed there'd been a patch released, like I believe that it was version 1.2 when I installed it on the Xbox. And then today when I installed it on the PS3, it was version 1.3. Now, there is no requirement for them to have version number parity across the systems. So there's every chance it was the same build, and I just got lucky with my RNG. But, Bully, do you have any idea whether they've patched it in the week?
I believe they have, but I finished it on the weekend, so we're talking 4 or 5 days ago, and I haven't gone back since they patched it to see how much of an impact that makes. And to be honest, I don't think I've even gone to the point of reading the patch notes for it either. So I'm not sure how
I'll ramble on for a bit, man, and please dive into those and see if you can find them, because my suspicion is that in the sort of 4-day break I took from the game and then installing it on the PlayStation, I got way more dynamic rooms. Like when a new day would tick over and then I'd get my new set of blueprints, I was getting way more interesting rooms on day 1 on the PS2 versus I think I got up to day 4 or maybe 5 on the Xbox, and I barely saw a new room in the first 5 days playing for an hour on Xbox, and then I saw heaps more rooms on day 1 and again on day 2 on PlayStation today. So I'm suspecting the new version number has made the RNG more generous. And my sense of progression today playing on a PlayStation was so much more. Like maybe for this exact same amount of time, I got maybe 25% of the experience on Xbox in an hour versus what I got today in an hour on the PlayStation with that version 1.03 patch. Bully, any news on the patching?
I can't find the 103 patch, but the 101 patch is certainly they've talking about a lot of it is bug fixes and all that sort of stuff in terms of. But they're also talking about the spawn rate of items as well, which I think, depending on how you go, as I said, very RNG heavy, and that might have been one of the issues that Unky was finding is that the spawn rate of some of the items was not really helping him too much in terms of his progression. And I'm just having a look now. I found the 103 patch, which looks like it's just bug fixes again by the look of it. So it's
okay.
It's save file issues and that's sort of where it's at for the 103. So the 101 patch, which was released just after the release of the game, I think fixed a lot of that poor spawn rate of some of the items. I think so.
Yeah, well, anyway, my experience today was far greater. I enjoyed it, but I wouldn't even consider this in Game of the Year. For me, like, it's just not speaking to me, and I know my particulars. I need a bit more fast pace than this is. It's nice to know that, pulling L2 can make you run, but I don't understand why that's not always that speed and then run is an increment faster. It feels so slow, and maybe that's the feel they're going for. But as a game, I just need a bit more going on to be more engaged. And if they took some of the reading out, switched it out for audio diaries, I'd find that more compelling as well. I'm really not trying to knock the game hard at all. Like, it is sitting at a strong 8 or 8.5 for me. I love what they're doing. There's a lot of new ideas here, a lot of fun gameplay. It's just a little bit slow and not enough happening for my little mind. But thoroughly enjoyed it. For me, this would be easier point up, like you're talking a 9 or a 9.5 in VR. This game screams it needs VR, in my opinion. I would find that so much more immersive. Keep everything else the same, just add VR to it. I'd enjoy my time a lot more. But I like all the little boxes. I like the mysteries on the notes. I don't know if I'm just going to spoil it. I mean, I found it in day 1 on the PlayStation, so I don't think it's too big a deal. But in one of the rooms, I found a magnifying glass, and then you go back to some of the early rooms with some of the notes that you read, and then you notice there's little bits written down the bottom, and you throw the magnifying glass on them. Instead of just being a scribble, you can actually read, and it's hints to puzzles and stuff. So there's a lot of compelling gameplay there, like puzzles sitting right in front of you, or sort of under your nose, which is cool, and you solve them, and you're, oh, that's great, knock that one on the head, which is great. But then, yeah, it's just not enough fast pace. Then my other question I'd like to throw to you, Bully, is on the big sort of pan in at the start, you see the mansion. Call me crazy. That looks like a 2-story mansion to me. And then the entire game seems to take place on level 1. And my mind's going, there, that's clearly a 2-story house. And I'm like, why are we just on ground floor? But
I suppose you can. There is some of the rooms in there that are basically a cellar and an attic as well. So
there we have it.
It probably doesn't explain the entirety of that second story, but certainly there is up and down levels that you can sort of go through with some of the rooms that you do get. But
yeah, cool.
I'm probably the same as you. When I first went into it, I'm not really a massive puzzle game fan, and I reckon the first 20 minutes, I was sort of, what's this? What's going on? And then it sort of, for me, it clicked really, really quickly. And by about half an hour in, I was really into it. But having said that, like a lot of the stuff just before you reach the end of the game and some of the side bits around the mansion probably weren't as compelling for me. The part I really enjoyed was just working out how you're going to get through that mansion with the blueprints that you're given and what resources you're going to use. You can get, you basically get 2 of those blueprints for free, and then the third one, you more often than not, you have to pay gems for, that you find those gems around the mansion. So it's a matter of, do I waste the gems on this one to get this, or do I hold off and then hope that I'll get it later on? And as I said, there's some of the rooms that you have to get to be able to open that last sort of atrium bit at the end, and the doors and that. So you sort of go, well, I have to get those. So do I save the gems to a point where I can get those, or do I do it now? Because if I don't, I might end up locking myself out and then have to restart and sort of redo it. But it's one of those things. I highly recommend it. It's really, really enjoyable, that working your way through the mansion. As I said, the other parts probably not as much. Even the story I didn't find overly compelling, and there is some sort of mystery behind a lot of it. But once I'd sort of stripped past most of that, it was just, for me, it was just working through the mansion itself and sort of getting towards the end. And I had a little bit of that RNG where it was causing me a bit of grief. But as I said, it wasn't ever enough to stop me. But I know from talking to Unky that he certainly had some massive problems with it, that he was just getting so frustrated because he was consistently getting dead ends, or he wasn't getting the items that were needed to progress, and he was having to restart and all that sort of stuff. So I can see where he'd be at with it, but I had none of that and had a really enjoyable experience. So I couldn't recommend the game highly enough. And as we said at the start, it's on Game Pass. It's on the two upper tiers of PS Plus. So if you've got either of those, I reckon it's well worth an install and at least playing an hour or two and see how it drives with you.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Couldn't agree more. It's only 3 gig or 3.5 gig on both consoles, so and nothing download. And it is such a unique game. Like, maybe this will speak to your type of gameplay exclusively. Like, so definitely worth the download and check out if you're already a subscriber at no charge. My other question for you, Billy, is have you gone looking at the trophies at all? I haven't even looked at the more achievements. How are they? Like, you've gotten through to the end room, so have you seen many trophies pop, or is it sort of real scarce?
One trophy I popped in the 13 hours, and that
was.
So I had a look through. So one of them is just for getting to the basically. So and this isn't giving too much away, but the note that you get at the start says there's 45 rooms in this mansion, and there's a secret 46th room, and if you can discover that 46th room, then you earn the right to inherit the house. This is how it sort of works. So, in terms of getting trophies for it, you get one for finding that 46th room and completing the run. And then there's a whole bunch of other ones on top of that. You've got to do a run in one day. So you basically got to start a new game with no additional ongoing perks that you can carry over and finish the game in one day. And if that's the height of RNG trying to do that, that would drive me nuts.
Hard pass. Like, I'd understand if you could essentially New Game Plus it and keep sort of some items or perks or what have you with you on that next run. So, after 8 or 9 completions, it becomes really easy. That would make sense. But if you are starting bare bones, that is just RNG.
Yeah, and that's from what I've seen, that's pretty much what it is. And then the remainder of the trophies are just along those sort of lines. Like, it'll say you have to do it. I think there's ones for like a certain amount of steps and stuff like that. So it's basically you have to finish the game every time to get a trophy. And I think there's only about 15, 20 trophies, so it's not massive. But the time sink that you would have to put in with the RNG to get it, as I said, 13 hours for one trophy is all I got. There's nothing for just going through it and you find an item, trophy pop, or you find a secret trophy pop. There is none of that whatsoever. So, it's as much as a trophy hunter as I try to be, this is on the. I've just played it just to enjoy what it is. There's not a chance that I think I'd ever be going for the platinum on this one.
And if you can answer this without doing spoilers, I'm not sure. You sounded a little bit evasive early on, but have you rolled credits on it, or you get to that end room, then you said there's another area, so have you not seen the credit roll? Have you not finished it as such?
No, I've finished it. So I've got to that atrium bit, and then there's another section after that. I've done that as well. I've had the credit roll.
Okay.
And then it's funny because after, I don't know whether to spoil it too much, but you get...
No, avoid spoilers if you can.
Once you've finished it, you can go back into the mansion and do another run again and try and find some more of those secrets. And you get another blueprint room for completing it, which I found, if you've got to that point and you found it and you've walked in that room, it's quite humorous.
Okay, very good. I like it. Nice. I had one final point, but I'm totally spacing on it now. Oh, it was just the final point was it sounds like if they're not too into their trophies, I'm just wondering, have they bothered with the platinum? I haven't looked. It's like, is there a platinum available for the game, or are they one of those rare titles that don't even bother with it?
Yeah, no, it does have a platinum, but
Okay.
I haven't checked out the percentage since the other day, but if that's not sitting at under 1 or 2%, I'd be shocked.
Yeah, fair enough, man. So I'm enjoying it. And I guess my final real question is, so you've rolled credits, you're done with it, or will you keep it on there and maybe hunt for a few more trophies, or are you moving on now?
Oh, I think it's one of those ones that because it doesn't take up a lot of space, I reckon I'm liable to keep it on and just maybe every month or two go back for an hour or two just to play through it. Because as I said, I found the gameplay itself of the blueprints and moving through the mansion really enjoyable. So to go back and put another hour or two every month or so, I think something that I'll continue to do and chip away at it. Whether I ended up ever ultimately getting the platinum is probably a no, but I'll keep chipping away and see how we go.
Yeah, nice one. All right, very good. I think I would like to put some time in it, but honestly, there's so many games on my plate. Like it's pretty low down the list as to whether I'll get back to this one or not. If it was VR, 100%, I'd definitely steamroll through it until there was a platinum. Not platinum, until credit roll, but it's just a bit slow pace for me. Anyway, moving on now, Bully, to game number 2, unless you had any final points on Blueprints.
No, carry on.
All right, here we go. Game 2 now. This is far more my speed. This game is Resist. It came out, oh gosh, now I'm blanking. I think it was last Friday. Might have been last Thursday on the PS2, PSVR 2. It had previously been on the Oculus. I think it came out maybe November, December last year on Oculus. And then just last week, it came to the PSVR 2 for the first time. And this game in a nutshell, Bully, if you love playing Spider-Man and swinging through the city, how good would it be in VR, mate?
Oh, no. No. Unless you want vomit all over the floor, no, not a chance.
Now, I know you suffer a bit of motion sickness in the VR headset. Fortunately, I've got my VR ceiling, so not even one dip of the stomach for me in this. And I'll just shout out that this is the very start of the game we're seeing here. So it starts you off nice and easy, Billy. You just hop in a window washer's lift the button, up you go. And then they do a great joke, and I'm going to spoil this joke here, but it's not a big one. Basically, they turn you into a window washer. I don't know if you've played much of the now I'm blanking on it. No Time to Die. No, what's it called? The VR one where you're pretending to do some jobs and you're a spy. No Time to Die, maybe. Anyway, it's a bit of that. So you're pretending to be a window washer here, but you're using a laser and you scrub it off. You go up to the second level, you do it again, and then the voiceover, I love it, just goes, you realize you're not actually a window washer. Like, so it's doing Power Wash Simulator in VR for the first time, because as far as I know, that game's never had VR. The opening to this game, to me, screams, why isn't Power Wash Simulator in VR? Bully, fact check me on that one, because it might already be, and maybe I just don't know it. Anyway, so very shortly into the adventure, you get the little safety hand mods, and then, you're off to the races. You go, they're just setting up a little bit of narrative here, and then the drones come in, blow you apart, and then you're sort of falling to your death off this sort of high wire act. But then the game cuts in kind of Animus style. Somebody's hacked into your mind. It's frozen time. And then it takes you through this tutorial of how to use the gloves to swing a la Spider-Man. This city looks like, New York City does in the Spider-Man games. And you'll love it, Billy, because it's a nice and gentle way of doing it. It starts off, I think it's 70% speed. So it's just a little bit slower. And then you progress 70%, 80%, 90%. And then you go on full speed. And it is just flat out web swinging between buildings. And there's a jump. Guess who maybe failed the jumping section when they couldn't just deploy their spidey senses and fell to their death?
I've got no doubt that you were doing with that platforming.
They got me with the platforming. It's true. I fell to my death. However, once you unlock the web shooters and you're swinging around the city, it was my dream come true. I never thought they'd nail a Spider-Man game. I don't know if you remember, Bully, or if you played it. On the PSVR 1 headset, there was two different, I think one was Homecoming, and I can't remember what the other one, but there was two Spider-Man films that came out over the years, and they did like a companion app on the PlayStation 4 with the VR for the PSVR 1 support, and it was a little bit janky, and never really that good. It was very, very limited in scope. Whereas this game, it's just a full. There we go, me falling to my death because I missed it. It's such simple controls, and yet me, no worries. I absolutely failed it. But then, yeah, so you crack out the web shooters and you're swinging between skyscrapers. Bully, I appreciate for you, mate, that if you don't have your VR legs, here come the drones shooting you out and into the action. So you fall here and then just before you hit the deck, bang, you get your headset hacked and you're off and in. And then you web swing around the city. And it is just, for me, I don't get sick doing it, so I absolutely love it. But just web swinging in first person, you absolutely feel like Spider-Man. They have nailed it. If you've ever played the games and wanted to see it in first person, or you've watched the movies and been like, oh, yes, please sign me up for that, this game is absolutely it. So this is it here, Bully. You've got the two options, realistic or arcade. I went for the hardest turn, and then you can either steer by moving your wrist or more of an analog stick control. But the moving wrist, like you feel like Spider-Man because you're flicking, you're pulling yourself around the corners and stuff. So here it is, Bully. That's at 70%. It just starts off nice and gentle. You go in on the arc, and the arc's there, and you're like, oh, yeah, I'll just shoot my web swinger up there.
Yeah, that's not gentle. That's not gentle.
Oh, you should see it. So this is only 70%. Wait till they ratchet it up a few more times, and then you're really flying. You can see this is the sort of tutorial section where they've hacked your headset because all the city kind of looks blue and there's no pedestrians or cars. But once you get through the tutorial, you step up the tiers, and then it gives you a bunch of options like, hey, you sure you want to go to the next speed up? You sure you're happy to keep moving forward? And once you tick all the boxes and get all the way through, I got to say, flying around the city with traffic and pedestrians, it is top-notch fun. And I'm not going to go too far into it. No spoilers here. But you end up with weapons. You're shooting against bosses, be it, tiny little minions or bigger bosses. This game scales and is just absolutely phenomenal. I can't speak highly enough of this game. If you ever wanted to web swing, this is the game for you in VR. It's phenomenal. Bully, I know you're a hard pass, man. I know this isn't speaking to you at all. And I think Gunky's still trying to get his headset on. He's still had a bit of trouble at the gym, hasn't he? And the headset doesn't fit anymore. Oh, you're muted, mate.
I was going to say he's not trying to put it over his arms.
I'm not sure Unky's going to be in for this, though. I don't think he gets motion sickness. So I don't know. Maybe if it was a Nathan Drake one, he'd be all about it. But for me, swinging through at high speeds, this game is phenomenal. I can't recommend it enough. So once again, it's Resist. It's on the PSVR 2 and came out last year on the Metacritic. Look at that Bully just going through the arc. Oh.
No, well, I just had a quick look while you were talking there. Power Wash Simulator did come out a couple of years ago in VR on the PC. So I think that's probably a bit more my speed, I think.
Yeah. I did think of you at the start of the game when that happened, man. It was really something beautiful. Oh, the other shout out I have to give one is to the developers. Now, what is it? The Binary Mill, who gave me the code. Oh, here it is here, Bully. So this is full 100% speed once you're out of the tutorial section. Turn your wrist, grab the glider. Yeah, it takes me a bit to get hold of it. I may have stuck to a few walls, but it is absolutely phenomenal. So shout out to the developers. Thank you for sending the key, making both the install and obviously this gameplay available. But the second little heads up I'll give you, please. These guys are actually in the Gold Coast, which I didn't know that they were Australian developers. So I thought that was pretty cool. So local-ish Australian developers, at least up on the Goldie. So thanks very much for sending that through. And then the other gotcha, I don't know if you've ever played it. I haven't myself, but the Gun Club in VR, do you know that one at all? I haven't gone hands-on with it myself. I'd seen it advertised a few times, but it's the same developers as Gun Club VR is Resist. So I highly recommend this game. Look at it, Bully. Full 100% speed, round the traffic, up and over and through. No, not doing it for you?
No, not quite.
All right, then let's move on to Game 3. Did Game 3 do it for you this week at all, Bully?
Did I get into this one? I think, I got the early version, the more expensive deluxe edition, because it comes with
you and I both.
The Giants, Land of the Giants, I think, DLC, which I correct me if I'm wrong, Troy. Have you been able to find that? Because I
don't think it's out yet. I think it's coming out in a month or two.
Yeah, I was under the impression that it was getting released the same day as the PS5 release, but I haven't done a lot of searching around. And to be honest, I think you and I and Unky all played it on the Xbox when it first came out. We're all pretty happy with it and enjoying it. I'd probably put about 10 or 15 hours into it, and then when we knew it was coming out on the PS5, sort of early to mid this year, I sort of put it away and thought, no, that's a platinum game that I'm going to go through and do everything and all the side quests and collectibles and all that sort of stuff, and that'll be something for me. So I was really excited when it did come out. As I said, got the deluxe edition, and I've been playing it pretty much the last couple of days. So I've gone through the first sort of main open area, which is the Vatican, and then moved on to the next one in Egypt. So I'm really enjoying it. It's for those that aren't aware, it's actually got 4K 60 with ray tracing on the PS5 Pro. I can't speak for the base PS5 version, but on the Pro it does have 4K 60. I don't know. It's a bit hard without sort of having the comparison side by side, but I think it looks better. It runs better from my
100%.
From my point of view. And then you've got the additional that you don't have on the Xbox, being the adaptive triggers and the haptic feedback in the controller as well. So I've been really enjoying it. I have to admit, when it first came out, on the Xbox, I played through it and I was a bit put off. I enjoyed it to a degree, but I was a little bit put off by the first person for some reason. But having gone back into it now with the expectation of I know what it is and I know how it plays in that first person, I've actually really enjoyed it more from the start and got a lot more out of the experience playing it through this time. So, you mentioned you've gone hands-on with it. I think it's, funnily enough, for a Xbox Studios game in Machine Games, which is part of Bethesda Studios, the actual best way to play it is on a PS5 Pro, which is, it's probably I think we spoke about it last week. It's probably the way of the future for Xboxes. They may come out with one more console, and that may be the last one as they just move over to basically a software developer for the other systems, which is probably indicative of what's to come. But I've really enjoyed it. For those that haven't played it, if you're considering it, I'd be suggesting this is the version you need to play on the PS5 Pro if you've got access to that. And I forgot actually how good especially the cutscenes when the gameplay is for the vast majority of is in first person view, but obviously the cutscenes pull you out and you see Indy speaking and whoever he's talking to. It genuinely looks like young Harrison Ford from like a 1980s Harrison Ford from the original trilogy. You could be mistaken if you were looking at it thinking, oh, you're just watching a movie. To me, it actually looks that good, and it plays really well. So, you said you put in a bit of time to it as well this week, Troy.
Yeah. First off, I need to start with a word of warning for anybody who played it on the Xbox and then is playing it on PlayStation. In the settings menu, the far right tab, I think it's fixed with 610, but it's the far right tab, and it enables you to link your Microsoft account to the PlayStation network. Now, here's the gotcha with it. One, your save game, like there's no cross progression. You can't import your save games. But two, I did it and instantly regretted it because I unlocked the first, I don't know what it was, 20% worth of achievements they were on the Xbox, but I unlocked a handful, maybe 8 or 9 or something, trophies in PlayStation Land without even playing the title. I didn't even boot into the game. It was just on the main menu. Well, that's into the game, I guess, but not into the gameplay itself. So I didn't even hit new game. As soon as I linked the account, it popped the first, 9 or whatever trophies. And I was a little bit disappointed because I wanted to go through and have them, organically pop. So it was probably written on the screen somewhere. I probably just shot myself in the foot by not reading and just running headlong into it. But so there's no benefit from cross-save, but there is the trophy popping. So I guess maybe if you'd got 1,000 gamer score on Xbox and just wanted a quick platinum, maybe that'd be the only incentive, but I don't really see it myself. Any thoughts, Everly?
It's strange that it does it that way, but like you said before, it doesn't import your save. Like for me, if it was going to do that, then import the save data as well as to where you're at with everything.
Yeah,
and that to me would make a lot more sense, that you could then just jump across to the PS5 version and pick up where you left off. Yeah. You don't have to then backtrack for the trophies. You've got your save point where you were at, and then you can just sort of continue on with the game and the story. That to me makes a lot more sense than popping the trophies just randomly, but you have to start the whole story again. That's a bizarre way of doing it.
It is bizarre. The only other bizarre thing is I thought that there was no Xbox or Microsoft splash screens at all on the way in. The only way you can see the word Microsoft, it's not even on, the legalese. it's only on that sort of whatever it is, the far right tab in the options menu where you see the word Microsoft. That's the only place it's written, which I thought was really surprising. I thought Xbox would have been all over this and slapping their logo as one of the first ones you see when you boot into it. But they didn't go for that marketing opportunity. Whatever, maybe it was in the contracts. Who knows? But I thought that was odd. But with the deluxe edition, you can see it on screen there. He's got the, I think it's called the Temple of Doom outfit bully with that ripped off right arm sleeve. What I love, to your point about how good the character model is, Harrison Ford's actually got a little scar like there across his arm, and they've even got the scar on the character model. Like, it's this tiny little detail, but they've gone so far as to get his scars correct, which I just think is so cool. Like, I love the original trilogy of Indiana Jones, and they have this is a piece of art, and the creators just absolutely love the original trilogy, clearly as much as I do. So they've just paid full respect to the source material. I think it's brilliant. I know I've said it before, but Troy Baker's Harrison Ford voice impersonation is top tier. He just doesn't miss a beat with it. It's absolutely perfect. The other thing I will say, first off, I've got to say, sorry, the HDR recording, I've just seen the HDR lighting effects there, but it's obviously not being displayed right. So the colors look crazy on here, but that's just a poor capture on my fault. It looks brilliant when you're actually playing it on the correct monitor. Sorry, my bad. But being forced to start it again, even though I didn't have the trophies, but going back through the Vatican City the second time, for me, I can't believe how much I'd missed the first time through. Like, I was really just following the objective marker the first time through, trying to get through Vatican City as quickly as I could. But this time around, I was poking around all the corners and really exploring the map. And there is so much more to this game than I'd even considered or expected.
Well, it's not even that. It's not only the things you can pick up. There's also, in each of the large, open-ish world areas, there's, half a dozen mysteries and side quests that you can do, but you have to go to a certain area or pick up a certain note to trigger the actual side quest. So unless you're fully exploring the area, you're actually missing large portions of the game by not doing it properly. And what I actually ended up doing was I've dumbed the difficulty level. So there's two areas that you can change the difficulty. One is the puzzles, and the other one is the combat difficulty. So I actually dropped the combat difficulty basically down to the bottom, so that I'll go into an area, there's a heap of enemies. I just literally go in, a couple of punches, knock them all out, and then I go, okay, now I can just sit and explore at my own pace. I don't have to sort of creep around and worry about, being caught and going back to a save from a couple of minutes ago. So I've really enjoyed doing it that way. It's just clearing the area out, and then having that time to explore and go through all those little nooks and crannies and pick up each of the things, get the photographs that you need to do, and sort of work through it that way. So,
well, I can go you one better on that, man, because I hadn't noticed this at all my Xbox playthrough, but playing this today and poking all the nooks and crannies, I had no idea that there was a Nazi uniform available hidden away in the Vatican City. I dropped down over a balcony and then went around a corner, and then there was 3 dudes. And then I went around another corner into their change room, and I could pick up a Nazi uniform, which means I can then go back to all those populated areas that you're referring to, but I'm dressed in the Nazi uniform, so I don't have to knock anybody out. I just dress up as one of them, and no one says anything. I can just stroll through and grab all the money and,
Well, and it's funny because you need one of those for a side quest as well. There's a repeating side quest. You actually need that uniform to trigger one of the side quests as well. So,
well, is that, and I had no idea this was even in the game, but I ended up in Vatican City finding an underground boxing match. Is that the one you're referring to?
That's the one and then, so it's because there's the outfit in Vatican City, but when you get to Egypt as well, there's another uniform that you have to find and another boxing ring that you have to find as well. So it's a reoccurring thing through the game that you have to sort of find these things. And like I said, it's no different to the notes, that you don't trigger a lot of this side content unless you're searching around and finding the notes or finding an artifact or finding a puzzle piece.
Or doing a me not reading anything and just deciding I'm going to poke in every corner until I find something cool, which is how I've managed to stumble across it. Sort of calling back a little bit to our discussion last week on Assassin's Creed Shadows, I can't believe, having experienced the opening of the game twice now, I haven't even looked, and I should have, to see if the yellow objective marker on the HUD that is constantly there, that is what on my first playthrough on Xbox just had me propelled. I was always just going towards that orange marker or yellow circle. I don't know. Can you turn that off? Have you looked? I've got no idea.
I'm not sure if you can turn it off, but you can change. So it doesn't just propel you towards your main objective. It also will help you out with the side stuff and the collectibles and that sort of stuff as well. So it actually is, you're not just poking around aimlessly trying to find some of the collectibles. If you find a map for the collectibles, it will actually show them on your map.
Yeah,
and then it'll also show you, if you get close to one, it'll also show you which of that selected collectible you're closest to and guide you to that as well. So it certainly helps in that. But I think that, and I'll have to have a look at it again, but I think that relates to your puzzle difficulty. So if you drop the puzzle difficulty down, it gives you a specific place that you have to go to and a specific thing you have to pick up. If you ramp the difficulty up a bit, it will then just go, this is the general area that you have to go to.
Okay.
And then within that general area, then it's up to you to work out what you have to find or pick up or the puzzle that you have to complete or whatever it is. So
yeah, okay.
It sort of differentiates the gameplay that way, as is to my understanding.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, maybe I should tweak around with those things. But if that orange dot wasn't there at all, like you could only pull out the book, no on-screen HUD, just pull out the book. Okay, have the mark on the minimap then if you've pulled it up. But without that, I think the game would be even more engrossing without the guider. Like the experience I had today, just because it was my second playthrough, was so much more enjoyable and rewarding. Not that I didn't enjoy it on the Xbox, but remove the desire to just be constantly drawn towards the marker and explore. You find stuff like the boxing match. And once again, I'll apologize because these colors are horrendous. I'm so very sorry. This is a terrible idea at showing the best looking version of one of the best games of the year. And I've done a real disservice by not correctly attuning for the HDR. So sorry, everyone. Trust me, this game looks a lot better, significantly, noticeably better on the PS5 Pro. It looks better, runs better, smoother, and what was the other one? Oh, the load times. I don't know if you noticed the load times, Billy, but even just
instant.
booting in. Yeah, it's so much quicker. Not that it's a problem on the Xbox. Like they've really done nice with the cutscenes in hiding the loading behind the cutscenes. So Xbox have hidden all the scenes really well, but just playing it on the PlayStation, you can see, holy moly, like this thing is just going. Like there's no slowdown.
I think you notice that the most when you die, like when you're killed or you die, it's a black screen for half a second and then you're back to the last checkpoint. So
yeah.
that for me, I don't think I can recall a game reloading after a death that quickly that you're basically back within the action within a mere seconds. Like you're just never out of the gameplay.
Yeah, absolutely. So totally nailed that. As you were saying earlier, the DualSense, the controller, the adaptive triggers, are perfect. I love having that touchpad as the bigger button as opposed to the little buttons on the Xbox. That's a great way to use it. Did you notice on the surround on the trackpad, they've using the light as your stamina depletes? It starts flashing yellow. And then when it gets to the deeper orange, like you're on the last 2 bars, the orange around the trackpad.
Oh, I didn't, but that's probably the way I sit and hold my controller. I never look at it.
And you don't play like this?
It's not. That's not within my eye line, so I never noticed stuff like that.
Well, when your hands are old man and broken, mate, it ends up in your face the whole time. So that's cool. But the big swing and a miss, I'm not going to document any points, obviously, for it because the game's phenomenal. But why isn't the whip sounds, the panting sounds, the almost drowning sounds, they should all be coming straight out of the DualSense's speaker. And they're not. That is such a missed opportunity. They could just bury me in the immersion one beat lower by crack of the whip and it's out of the speaker, not out of the TV, you know?
Yeah, I don't know whether that was just because it was originally developed for the Xbox, whether they just can't separate the sounds out.
Oh, surely they could on some level. There's plenty of games that have done it.
Oh, I've got no doubt that you can do it. It's just, in the development process because it was, obviously the vast majority of the time was spent doing as an Xbox exclusive. And then at the later stages, it was looking at porting over to the PS5. So whether it's just one of those things that the way that they put the sound
that's fair.
together within the game, they just can't separate it out because of the package they put together in it. And it might be something that, hopefully we get a sequel out of this. And
I think that's money in the bank. Definitely getting a sequel.
Well, it's funny because I was thinking about it today is that it lends itself really. You could go one or two ways with it. You could go for a full new big huge story sequel, or the other way, I'd milk it a little bit more than that and go, you could probably do, half a dozen 5 to 10 hour DLCs over the
Ah,
next couple of years, that you don't need to do this whole big full story. You could say, I think there's 3 or 4 of these open areas with smaller, more action orientated, tighter segments in the middle of each one of those. So instead of having 4 or 5 of these big areas, you could just have one. That's your DLC. You pay $20 or $30 for it. You get 5 or 10 hours of similar sort of stuff. It doesn't have to be this big overarching story. It can be just, you're dumped into this area and this is what you're searching for, and you've got a couple of side things to do on top of that. And you could really drag that out over the next couple of years, and then maybe when we're looking at the next console generation, then you look at the next, Indiana Jones 2, or however you want to
yeah.
label it, and sort of do it that way. So I think there's a lot of potential really for expanded content, and for Xbox to make a fair bit of coin out of it, sort of going
Yeah.
forward before we get a full blown sequel.
That's fair, man. And I got to say, from that opening, I would love it if they did, to your very much point, just 3 small DLCs, but give me the 3 original films. That'd be mind blowing, in this
Yeah,
engine and everything, use all the assets, because obviously they've already done the whole original opening to Raiders of the Lost Ark. Like, give me the full film of 1, full film of 2, full film of 3 as DLC to this. I'd happily give them $30-$40 per movie.
Yeah, I don't think if you even broke it down and did that last section in the Last Crusade, where you're going through the tomb and the traps and all the
Yeah,
rest of
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Like if that was a 2 or 3, you'd obviously have to fill it out more than what was in the movie. But if you made that a 2 or 3 hour DLC of just going through that
Yeah.
sort of section and playing through that with maybe a little bit of additional stuff,
Yeah.
100%, I'd pay for that.
Yeah. So if that was their little intermezzo to get us over the next couple of years, and then maybe have Indiana Jones and the Great Circle 2 or whatever they'd call it as a launch title for, PS6 or something, sign me up. I'd love to play through the original 3 films in this very fashion. I think this game is top notch. If you're sitting on the fence, I say stop sitting on the fence, jump in both feet first. This game is absolutely brilliant. I'm hoping there's a patch in the not too distant future where the whips and the indies expression sounds come out of the speaker, and that'd be the icing on the cake for me. There'd be nothing else other than the DLC we just mentioned that I'd want to add. Any final points, Bully, before we move on into the cold case?
This is what the last 2 movies should have been. So if you're
100%.
if you're an original Indiana Jones fan and you've fallen off a little bit because of the last 2 movies, which were one was dreadful, the other one was tolerable to a degree, but this is what should have been the
Yeah.
4th movie, in my opinion. And
I couldn't agree more.
And it plays as well as playing through a movie.
Yep, absolutely. They've totally nailed it. And yeah, just to reiterate the point, like they have done such a service to the Indiana Jones character from the original trilogy. They've made him that same, strong lead character that, he's just missing from the others. But anyway, enough of that. Shall we move on to the cold case, sir?
Let's dust it off.
Oh, actually, I need a small active reload. Active reload on the other side of that will be cold case. Excuse us, moment. This is us. We're back. It is a cold case. Bully, what have you brought back from the depths?
Brought back from the dead, as it were. Red Dead Redemption, the original, which I think we spoke about a couple of years ago. It got the remastered treatment on the PS4. So I did find it. I thought it was probably a little bit overpriced at release. I did find it on sale. Got it fairly cheap and jumped back into it recently. It's one of those games that I haven't played fully pretty much since it was released, and we're talking over a decade ago, and it's still, don't get me wrong, it's showing its age a little bit even with the remastered version, a little bit with the facial animations and that sort of stuff, but the scenery and the atmosphere that you get of just riding your horse through the outback, I'm showing my Australian, the Wild West, the Wild West scenery. You have the sun rising or setting in the background, and it's really an enjoyable world to go back to. And I've playing through number 2, which was probably one of the top 5 games of for me of all time. I forgot how good the original actually was, and the story that goes through it, and it doesn't rush you through everything. There's no, I think there is a fast travel at some point you can get, but you don't never really feel like using it. The enjoyment you get out of just jumping on a horse and just making your way to the next area that you need to go to, or to the next quest that you need to do. And although it's not quite as filled out with the side content and the random interactions that you find in the world as Red Dead 2 is, it still has a little bit of that. I'll probably put another 3 or 4 hours into it, kicking back in, and it's just the world. It's absolutely stunning still. The better part of 15 years later, it's a joy to play. I don't know if you've gone into the remaster or played through the original PS3 or Xbox version of late, but it's still just an absolute marvel of a game, and still really enjoyable, and something that you can still enjoy even with those little graphical issues. And then they're not massive issues, but you can certainly tell it's an older game. But it doesn't take away from what the game is. And I've really enjoyed going back through it. And I think it's one of those games that we spoke about before when we were talking about blueprints, of leaving it on your system and just jumping back into it. It's not something that I think I have to sit down and put over a weekend 10, 15, 20 hours into. It's a game that I can see myself jumping into, playing 2 or 3 hours, getting back into that world, getting back into just, cruising around, taking it easy, taking it slow. And that'll do me for the week. And then another couple of weeks later, I'll jump back into it, and another couple of hours. It's something I think I can see myself just cruising through for the next 6 or so months, and working my way slowly through the story. And just when it's one of those things that it's almost when you have all these high octane action packed games that it's just nice sometimes just to have that slow paced, relaxed. I just want to sit on the couch and have a beer and chill, and I don't want to have everything in my face at the same time. I can just sit there and go, I'm just going to go and ride my horse for half an hour. Really enjoyable. So I don't know if you've touched on it or you've jumped back into it lately, Troy, other than I assume you captured the footage for what we're seeing here.
I did, mate, and apologies to the viewers because we're a few minutes late. Truth be told, I fired this up to capture, 20 minutes of footage just for this. I ended up playing for an hour 20. I got sucked into this entirely, and then I looked up and I'm like, holy shit, I better put a stop to this. So very much to your point, I played it originally on the 360, rolled credits on that, finished Undead Nightmare, loved it there. That was back in the day. What were you saying? 10, 15 years ago, whatever it was.
2011, 2012, I think, was the original release.
Yeah, so I played it to completion back then. And then a couple of years later, call it, 2017, 2018, I picked it up on the PS3, assuming the PS3 was still in existence then, and played through. I don't think I even finished the main story, but I put in my time. A good, 30, 40 hours on the PS3 version, I believe it was. And then about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, I fired this up because Xbox supported Red Dead Redemption with the Xbox Series X back compat, 60 frames a second, 4K upscale doohickey. And I put in a couple of hours then as well and really loved it. But what surprised me today was playing this on the PS5 Pro, because this game came out, was it 23, I think, on the remaster on PS4, which is what you're looking at here.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the 2023, yeah.
Yeah, which, as I understood, was just bringing it up to parity with what you could get on Xbox via back compat and then the upscaling. But playing this today, this looks so much better running on the PS. It's a PS5 Pro I was playing on, but it's the PS4 SKU of the game, digital install, that I was playing from. But honestly, this looks leaps and bounds ahead of the Xbox Series X back compat upscale upres. Like, it's noticeably better playing on the PS5 Pro.
Yeah, and I suppose that's the upresing or upscaling mode that you can enable on the Pro to allow it to do that, to smooth off some of the jagged edges or the graphical sort of, issues that it would have had being such an old game. I just looked it up. It's 15 years old as of May, so 15 years ago.
Yeah,
it's that old, and it's still odd to your point, even with the upresing and all the rest of it, and we understand that, there's been developments in consoles and you're not getting what you got on a PS3, but it still looks better than half the games being released today as a new release. So it does hold up to a fair degree graphically and gameplay wise and ultimately story wise, because that's the Red Dead games, when you're talking about where they really shine is the storytelling and the characters and all that sort of stuff, and that obviously isn't going to be depleted by how old the game is. It's still there and it's still fantastic. So,
well, arguably it was that story that the Hauser brothers crafted, and I know there was more writers than just the two, but I give credit to the Hauser brothers. The story they've crafted there, like, even with limitations in technologies that we had 15 years ago, that story was so good. You'd put up with almost anything just to get the story. But then, as you say, man, playing it today on today's hardware, being able to use the upscalers and get higher frame rates and quicker load times and everything, like, there's just nothing holding this game back. It's such a good cold case, man.
No, I was just doing a quick bit of mental math, and so if May 2010 was the original game's release, Red Dead 2 was 2018. So by my calculations, we're about 12 months away from Red Dead 3.
Woo! You heard it here first.
Now that's not saying there's anything official or the where we're at, but the time frames marry up. So maybe we might get something in the next sort of 12 or 18 months.
I'm pretty sure they've been all hands on deck for GTA 6 for the past couple of years over at Rockstar, mate.
Yeah, and as soon as November hits, we can ditch that and then move on to the real star of the show.
I love it. But even just check out this lighting. Like, Xbox wasn't pulling off that kind of lighting, on their back compat mode. Anyway, sorry, I've gushed enough. Absolutely love this game. If you haven't played it, definitely pick it up. And I don't even remember what the price was, but I was browsing around the store today and I saw you can get Red Dead 1 and 2 as a bundle on PlayStation 4. It's the PS4. Obviously, they haven't done a PS5 of Red Dead 1, but then the PS5 release of Red Dead 2. So you can pick up a bundle there, get them both. This game's absolutely phenomenal. If you've never played it and you love your Old West, you're in for an absolute treat.
Does Red Dead 2 have a PS5 release?
Oh, I may very well have misspoken then. Maybe it doesn't.
Well, I'm just having a look, because if it does and it's got a new trophy list, I think I might be dumping Red Dead and jumping into Red Dead 2 again, I reckon. I'm going to have to do a bit of... if
you've got this PSN store page there, mate, you have a look on the PSN store page, because it's the Red Dead bundle, Red Dead Redemption 1, Red Dead Redemption 2, which, and I still find it crazy in my mind that from a narrative timeline standpoint, Red Dead Redemption 2 happens and then Red Dead Redemption 1. It's such a crazy notion and way they've structured the story, but that is such a minor gripe.
Well, the funny thing with that is, though, it actually, going back and playing the first one after knowing what happens in the second one makes the first one even better, in my opinion.
Yes, it absolutely does. They tucked in all those narrative edges so well. There's so many characters that you're like, oh, this is just a random one-off character in Red Dead 1. But then you play number 2 and you're like, holy moly, that character's fully fleshed out. And now this is, just like another dimension to the character. It's great stuff.
So I'm just having a look. So there is no PS5 version. It's still just the two PS4 versions. But
my apologies.
That 2-game bundle that you were talking about is currently 55% off in the PSN store. So
how many Australian dollars will that set you back?
65.
Now that's $65 well spent if you haven't played even just one of the games. It's worth $65. But yeah, you get the full experience of both. Red Dead Redemption Remake also includes the Undead Nightmare DLC, which I think at the time was $40 or $50, wasn't it? When Nightmare came out.
That's one of the ones I'm looking forward to playing the base game and then getting into that, because I never actually played the Undead Nightmare DLC, which I've heard
that's amazing.
Absolutely amazing things about, and I've never played it. So I'll play through the baseline story and then jump into that once I'm finished.
Now, we just spoke about GTA 6, so obviously this isn't going to work from a timeline standpoint, not that they've announced the release date, but my advice to you would be hold off on Undead Nightmare until spooky season, October. It is the perfect October spooky season game, Undead Nightmare. It's absolutely perfect.
Well, if I end up doing my couple of hours a week playing through the base game, it may well be October before I get to the Undead Nightmare.
That is just my little piece of advice. It'll fit thematically and beautifully with Rocktober when we get there. I love this game, and very much to your point, man, I intended to play this for 20 minutes. I ended up playing for an hour and a half today. So I too will be leaving this game on the console. I think it was only 25 gig off the top of my head. The install, so the PS5 Pro, what's it got, 2 terabytes internal? Like, I'm happy to leave 20 gigabytes or 25 gigabytes sitting there for Red Dead Redemption. Great game, and very much to your point, I'd be happy to just throw an hour or two at it throughout the week. So I'm coming to get through the story, because you just mentioned the trophy list. I haven't earned the trophies on the PS4 version. My original playthrough was on the PS3, and I never touched it on PS4. So it's a whole new set of achievements. And unlike Indiana Jones, I haven't accidentally popped half the narrative stuff. So there's good incentive there for me to get back into it. And I'll also apologize. You can clearly see the HDR issue present on this footage as well. Sorry, viewers. I've done a poor job editing today. I apologize. Any final points on the cold case, Bully, or should we put it back in the freezer and move on to the most wanted?
No, that's going in the oven to maintain its warmth, and I'll get back to that over the coming weeks.
Very good, mate. All right, get your hunting hat on as we go hunting for this week's most wanted upcoming. Who have you got in your sights, Billy?
I have got Days Gone remastered. I was one of the few, I think, that when this originally came out, absolutely loved it. I know it had a fair few.
You and I both.
I know there was a fair few complaints with bugs and stuff like that. They were patched out pretty quickly.
The day one patch fixed it.
Yeah, and the game itself, I thought I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fantastic. Some people complained that you didn't need that second area that you went to, but I didn't mind it. I thought it extended the story out. Was it absolutely required? Probably not, but I was really enjoying it, so I was more than happy to keep going.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question just on the narrative, because it's right there where people had issue. A lot of people had issues with the main characters being bikers, but for me, I was a huge fan of, now I'm blanking on it, what is it, Sons of Anarchy. I love the Sons of Anarchy TV show, and this felt like the game, zombies aside, but as the two main characters being bikers, I felt like I was embodying part of the Sons of Anarchy, so I loved it. To your point, like that second area, not a whole lot of zombie horde action yet, because that's sort of in the third act of the game, but I just felt like I was playing Sons of Anarchy, the video game. So I loved every minute of it. I never understood why people didn't enjoy the main characters.
Well, see, the thing with that though is it's one of those things that people are always going to complain about something. If you put bikers in a game, they're going to complain, oh, it's bikers. If you put an ethnic character in, they're going to complain it's an ethnic. If you have a female character, everyone's going to complain about something. Depending on what their proclivities are or where they think things should be. I don't know, just enjoy the game for what it is, I would have thought, and put that to the side. The real reason I'm actually, apart from playing through it again, which I platinumed the first game, I'm keen to go back in and platinum again, as long as the permadeath mode isn't part of the platinum. That's going to hurt me. But if it actually is, I haven't looked at the trophy list. But I suppose the real interest I have in this one is hopefully it garners enough interest and enough sales over the next month or two that, because there was plans and pre-production in place for a second game in the series that got knocked on the head by PlayStation. So Sony Ben never got, and there's been a little bit of angst back and forth with and I can't remember the CEO of Ben's studio off the top of my head, but there'd been or the ex-CEO now, I think, because he departed with a few shots about the not pushing through a second game. But I'm really hoping the fact that they've gone back to the point of remastering it, putting it out on the PS5, that it garners enough interest and that that it makes enough money that Sony will now turn around and go, well, actually, we probably made a mistake not greenlighting that second one.
Yep.
Let's give it a go because and again, without giving away the story, but it certainly ends. The ending of the game certainly sets it up for a sequel big time. So
definitely,
I'd be more than happy to. It's not something that we're going to see anytime soon. They're going to have to judge how it goes and make an assessment after that. But I'm hoping it does go well enough that we do get that long-awaited sequel. So.
I would love it. Just a bit more about the behind the scenes of Ben Studios. I've just read various articles over the years since it all happened, but as I understand it, there was like a real internal civil war after they pitched Days Gone 2 to Sony. Sony killed it. Then there was an internal war, and they didn't just shed the CEO at the time, but the lead writer of this game, who I think, and I could be wrong, but I think he was also the game director. He left, but I think there was an exodus of like at least 20 developers across the board, like C-suite people, directors, and then also, just coders and artists. There was a culling of the main heads that were pushing for Days Gone 2. They all left. So as much as I would love to see Days Gone 2, as I understand it, the real people with the vision all left the company in the few months after the knockback and the downscaling.
Yeah, and the disappointing thing is, and again, I'm just trying to flick through and find out who the former CEO was, but I think the biggest gripe that he had at the time, after he left the studio and as I said before, fired a few shots, but I think the biggest gripe that he had was that it didn't actually end up doing too bad sales-wise. It was just that initial release, so the review copy that was sent out didn't have that day one patch attached to it and got mediocre sort of reviews. But when it was released and most people jumped into it, they were sort of going, what are you talking about? We're not experiencing any of those issues. So I think his biggest gripe with the whole thing was that it actually ended up selling relatively well. It at least made its money back after a couple of months. And there's been other games within the Sony first party studios that have been greenlit for sequels that were nowhere near as well received and made as much money as this game did. And that was always the issue that he had, was that for whatever reason that didn't get greenlighted. And they were, but at the same time, and it's not excusing it, but we had what's his mate, the former PlayStation. It's not Jim Ryan. Is that what I'm talking about?
Jim Ryan is the ex-CEO.
Yeah, Jim Ryan, the ex-CEO of PlayStation. Yep. So he was really pushing towards the pay-to-play ongoing games as opposed to single-player narrative. Sell it once and then that's it. That's all you're going to make the money out of it. Whereas you have the live service games, you have that continued thing. So he was really pushing for that. So I'm not surprised that it didn't get greenlit. But one can only hope. I don't think it'll happen, but I'm hopeful that this does well enough that they revisit it and have another look at it.
I think the path maybe to successfully will be, depending on how well this remaster goes, maybe that leads to the green light of the TV show, HBO's Days Gone. And then maybe this... Oh, is it?
I'm almost certain that's already in production.
Oh, see, there I go with my head up my own ass again and no idea what's going on. I was going to say, this will green light the TV show, and then if the TV show does well, maybe they'll try and mend some bridges and get all the people they shedded who were the passion for this project. It'd be nice to have them back at Bend, or maybe they spin up their own other studio called something else, but give them the Days Gone.
Oh no, sorry, it's a movie is
pre-production or actually up on box?
I'm just trying to flick through. Looks like pre-production, but
well, that can drag on for years, decades sometimes.
But that was announced post, obviously post the game coming out. So maybe we get something out of it. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that could be cool. My only final question on this one, I'm very much looking forward to it. And, two questions. First one, is this a $10 upgrade? Like I had it on digitally PS4, so I get the $10 upgrade to the PS5?
You do, unless it's the PS Plus version, in which
No,
yeah. So in which case you don't. If you download it through the PS Plus system, you'll have to buy the full whack. But if you had the PS4 version, either digitally or physically, then it's a $10 upgrade.
Yeah, perfect. All right, sign me up. I'm looking forward to that. Final question from me. Has there been any talk on the remaster? Have they upped it? And the Horde was amazing originally, but have they upped the density of the Horde with the more horsepower on the PS5 Pro? Because that'd be amazing. The Horde was already insanely dense, but if they've somehow gone through and pulled some magic and added even more zombies, that'd be real something to see.
I haven't seen, but I think a lot of it's got to do with the graphical upgrades and some of those extra modes as well. So there's a permanent mode. There's basically a zombie horde mode that you can play through. So instead of just going through the open world and finding the hordes, it's basically just survive. We're going to throw you in there and survive. So you've got those extra stuff. And I haven't seen whether it's increased the volume. But as you said, some of those ones that you come across, you're talking about hundreds and hundreds on screen at one time. It was
so cool.
It was chaotic as it was. I'm not sure that having any more would be beneficial only in the terms that it just becomes unmanageable to try and deal with them.
A visual feast, though.
Oh, it looked good, no doubt.
I love it. All right, mate. That'll be it for the most wanted. I couldn't agree more. I cannot wait to go hands on 25th, I believe. So a couple of days away. Let's move on now. Have you got your foot ready? Let's kick it in newsroom door, shall we?
Bang it in.
All right, Bully. Who has the right to remain newsworthy this week? Story one, please.
Story one. So, dropped during the week, Elder Scrolls Oblivion, which is the precursor to the ever-released Skyrim. From Bethesda Game Studio. So we've heard about rumors, or there has been rumors for quite some time, that Oblivion was getting a remake, remaster. We weren't quite sure. During the week, we did have some screenshots drop, and it is turning out to be a remaster, not a full-blown remake, which is I'm not sure how I feel about that, to be honest. I would have
a little disappointed over here.
Given that it's a 20-year-old game, I would have thought that you probably could have gone the full remaster with a current engine. You've still got all the game assets in place, just polish them up.
Yeah.
In the new game engines that they have got. But the other part that goes with it, and we don't have a release date, but there is rumor circulating at the moment that it is basically a very much impending drop and will be out sometime in May. So,
I'm going to ask you to go keyboard hunting, because I feel like 2 days ago I read there was a leak. Someone had uploaded was it 3 screenshots, and one of the screenshots had the date on it. I'm pretty sure the date got leaked like 2 days ago.
I haven't. Or actually, just give me half a second, because I'm
You go digging. I'll just vamp for a little bit and say I absolutely love this. And I know we've talked about this game a few times. I'm very much looking forward to going back and playing. This game was top notch. It was, I'm pretty sure, 90% confident it was a launch title on the Xbox 360. I threw hundreds of hours of it into it back then. Absolutely loved it. It's, I think it was my intro to Bethesda Game Studios. They've obviously got many other titles, and I've gone and enjoyed them all since, but this is my intro to them. Bully, what have you found?
I'm just going through it. While I do, it was, I think I played the previous one to this, which was it's escaping me at the moment, but the third one, Morrowind, which was on the base Xbox, so the original Xbox. That was my first introduction to it, and that was a really hardcore, old school, almost CRPG type affair. There was no markers, no quest guides. You literally had to read through. All right, if you go to this particular place at this particular time and speak to this particular person, and that's how it sort of worked. And I really enjoyed it for the freedom and the world that it built. But when Oblivion came out and it had those additional extras just to make traversal of the world a little bit easier with quest markers and stuff like that. I still remember, and I think I've said it multiple times on the show before, that starting area where you're in the dungeon underneath the castle, and then you come out through the sewer grate, into this world, and it doesn't, like, it's 20 years old. It obviously it doesn't hold up in the same fashion. But the first time you go out and into that open world, and you can sort of see it on screen there, where you've got the green grass and the hills and the castles off in the distance. It was one of the most magical gaming experiences that I've ever had. So.
And of course, that musical cue that accompanies it, dun 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 dun. That is just top tier. I love it.
So I'm trying to find out here for you, but it's the screenshots I've seen just say Oblivion Remastered. It doesn't have a release date by the look of it, unless something else has come out. But from what I've heard, it's oh, hang on, there's another one that came out yesterday. They're saying as early as next Monday.
Yeah,
that it may be releasing. So very, very imminent. We'll have to wait and see. But the other part I was reading is that apparently it's just going to be a straight stealth drop. There's going to be no announcement. There's going to be nothing to go with it. It's just going to turn up on Game Pass one day.
Well, that doesn't speak too highly of the port job they've done, then, does it?
Well, I don't know. We'll wait and see. But I suppose the flip side to that, for anyone that's been playing any of the Bethesda games, be it Fallout or the Elder Scrolls games on PC, the modding community there is unbelievable. So if you're really wanting top-notch updated graphic styles, there's mods out there that can do that already. So it'd be interesting to see, given they've gone the remaster, not the remake route, whether that actually compares to what some of the modding community have done, and if it falls short, that might become a bigger issue in and of itself.
Well, was it one of the Skyrim remasters that they re-released? God, I'm hating these details. I should probably just move on, but I won't. I'm going to push through. I'm pretty sure there was a Skyrim remaster that came out, and Bethesda got in hot water because that included a community-built skin up-res pack in the console release and didn't credit them for it. And then a couple of days later, they had to go back and put their hand up. Sorry, we did actually grab this user-generated contents mod to make it look as good.
Yeah. I do recall that happening. I can't remember which game it was for, but I certainly do remember that happening. And it's funny because you've had all these people out in the modding community that have quite happily done it for free, and if I was Bethesda, I'd be just going, well, why would I dedicate a section of our studio to re-raise the graphics or improve the sound or whatever it is. You've got these guys that have done the modding, that they've done it all already. As long as it's stable, because some of the mods aren't, let's be honest, but as long as most of the bigger ones are stable and are really the best way to play the game, go and pay the buck up $100,000.
Yeah.
And say, we'll buy it off you, or we'll lease it off you, or whatever you want to do. We'll pay you $500,000 to be able to use your graphical mod.
Yeah.
And then you're probably saving yourself more in the long run by paying them to do it anyway, which I just find a strange way of doing it, to be honest.
Well, it is, and that was a bad situation. But the counter argument to that, I suppose, is there have been countless stories over the decades of people in the modding scene going on to get full-time employment at the game studios that they've been creating mods for. So it's not all bad news out there. A lot of mod makers do go on to have full-time employment in the industry, in the very games that they sort of cut their teeth on in the modding scene. So there are stories of success there. I don't know if that happened in that instance, but it's not all doom and gloom. There is some silver linings to be found.
Oh, well, we'll see how we go, because as I said, the initial reports I was reading was sometime in May, but then there's now reports as early as next week. So we'll have to keep our eyes peeled to Game Pass and see if it does drop.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think maybe it was a Tumblr thing. I don't even know if Tumblr's still a website, but I feel like the 3 screenshots I saw a day or two ago were on Tumblr, and one of those included the actual release date for it, because they went back and scrubbed it afterwards, but it was still on Tumblr, I think, if you feel like adding the word Tumblr to that search query, mate.
But I'll keep going while we...
no worries. Let's move on. This marathon of a news segment to news story 2, Willie. What do you got for us?
News story number 2. We have... I just realised what you said. I was busy typing away and flick back to what we were actually talking about. Marathon, I don't know whether it's a hotly anticipated new entry from Bungie. I'm not sure if that's quite the right word, but certainly an affair from Bungie, we should say, has over the weekend has had its release vision shown, and also that it will be not a free-to-play game, so it's a $40 price tag for that game, and it's releasing later in the year. From what I've said, I don't think we've got a definitive release date, but we're sort of talking the August to October sort of window at this stage, and it looks like they're going to do some closed alphas as well. So it'd be interesting to see. I'm certainly have no interest in this game whatsoever. I don't know, by the sound of it, you have no interest at all.
I'm skeptical as all get out.
It doesn't, to me, having watched that trailer, doesn't do anything to change my opinion, doesn't excite me at all in the slightest.
I've got a question for you, just looking at this footage, because this is the first time I've actually seen it running. It may have been in a state of play or whatever back in the day, but this is the first time I'm really seeing it and knowing what it is. My question to you is this, Billy: when's the art department going to come in and finish painting all the scenery? What the hell is going on? I feel like I'm looking at a bunch of box models. I'm like, okay, I can kind of see the gameplay there, but what is this? This looks like such an unskinned map, unskinned textures. This thing looks half-baked, and if they think this is going to get gamers fired up and excited for their thing, like, okay, the natural areas look cool, the grass and the trees, that looks great, but all these buildings, the player models themselves, whatever they call this art style, I call it not even half-cooked. I don't know what they're thinking.
Yeah, and it's funny because normally when you have a release trailer, it's a very structured, well put together slice, and we've seen it in the past. They're quite often they're not even what you see in the release trailer is 1,000% better than what you actually end up getting. So, and they're that well scripted and put together. So, like having a look at it here and seeing all that, it just to me, I just have. It does nothing for me whatsoever, despite the Bungie pedigree.
You look at this and you go, okay, it's Bungie. Maybe the gunplay will be good, but there is so many missing holes here.
Well, and that's the thing that you sort of look at, because since PlayStation bought them a couple of years ago, they've had nothing but missteps. Sony's had to come in and basically take over the company to this point, and this is now what we've got was their big post-Destiny sort of hope, really. And if this goes the way of Concord, I don't know whether Bungie survives, to be honest with you, because it's now a fully owned entity by PlayStation that are to a large degree have gutted them already.
Yeah,
especially if their senior leadership, whether they ultimately continue as a company, or whether Sony just turn around and cut their losses and go, well, we just can't. We can't fund another game. You've done nothing for us since we paid. I think it was $5 or $6 billion for them a couple of years ago, and you've done nothing but cost us money. So I don't know whether it continues after this if this is a failure.
No, this to me, and I'm not trying. This is going to sound like the biggest insult ever, and it's seriously not meant to be. But looking at this footage, I'm given the exact same lack of excitement, the exact same. Oh, really? Another one of these? As when I saw the first footage for X-Defiant, and then exactly what I saw, and I looked at X-Defiant and I went, I don't know who this game's for, and then ultimately I went and played it, and I went, yep, it's definitely not for me. I'm getting the exact same vibes off Marathon. I'm looking at this going, this art style is non-existent. This does nothing for me. And I'm looking at the gameplay and I'm like, I'm not really seeing anything here that I haven't seen before. Like, okay, there's some like Overwatchy type character classes in here. That's what it seems to me. It's almost like a mashup between Destiny, Overwatch, and Call of Duty. Like they've sort of gone, these are the big, multiplayer live service games. Let's just mash them all together, and that's got to work, doesn't it? I don't know. That does nothing for me. If the directors of this game, if the art director, if the story director, if the game director, if they have a clear vision for what this game is, their trailer department have let them down significantly, because there is no cohesive vision for me looking at all this footage. There is nothing here that sings to me as a gamer. Like, I look at the gunplay and I'm like, okay, maybe the gunplay will be fun, but I know Call of Duty's fun and I've already got it installed.
But there's
no anticipation.
September 23 is the release date. It flashed up on the screen there. But the other part with it is it doesn't actually, like, you've got the trailer there, but it doesn't actually tell you what the game is or what you're doing. Is it a
looks like a hero class-based shooter, I'm assuming from the pictures I'm seeing.
Well, but then I've heard it's an extraction shooter as well. So is it Helldivers type thing? Is Is it an Overwatch type thing? Is it a PvP like Call of Duty? I don't know idea what's going on with it.
Yeah, and like maybe the game is good, but we were just speaking about Oblivion, and maybe that's going to stealth drop. This game, like this footage, has done nothing to excite me. If anything, it's put me off. Like this game should have been stealth dropped, and if maybe they've found some secret source and their trailer just hasn't conveyed that for whatever reason, this game would have benefited from zero expectations. Stealth drop it. Like this trailer is a disservice to Bungie and the game marathon, I think.
Well, I suppose that's the problem, though, is that how do you stealth drop a Bungie game? Like, they've got, even though they've faltered over the last couple of years, they've still got that cachet of, that they were the original developers of Halo. They've got that multiplayer pedigree. They've got the Destiny pedigree, which is, faltered over the years, but generally has been, pretty well received, and they managed to fix up their missteps. So they do have the pedigree, but whether and that's what I mean. You can't really stealth drop a game from a studio that big and just hope it works. Like, unless you've just gone, unless Sony have just turned around and gone, we just don't believe in this at all, and we're just hoping for the best. And here you go, whatever it is, it is just, start playing it. If you don't like it, we shut it down Concord style. I don't know.
It's insane to me. And just looking at this footage again and just being so offended by the look of it, I would assert this, Bully, and, grab your bloody socks as I say it. But I think Hello Games, No Man's Sky, looked better than this game. Like, that was a indie studio coming out of nowhere, first release game. Their building structures and art style looks better than this. And this is Bungie. What the hell is going on?
I don't know. But I'm not... It's not on my list. The only interest I will have in this game when it comes out is how it fares, and whether that's the death of Bungie.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath based on this trailer. No thanks. Moving on. News story 3, Bully. Can we finish strong, mate? I know I've only got 3 news stories. Please, mate, give me some good news. What do you got for me?
Oh, look, we're not. So the announced during the week that the PS5 console is getting a price increase. So the digital edition is getting a €50 price increase and a £40 price increase. So that for the Australian consumers is jumping up $100.
So what you're saying is buy now because it doesn't kick in till when?
I think I saw a lot of the local stores still selling it for the current price, but that was going to end within the next week or so. So if you want to get one new, I'd be getting onto it very quickly. But I get that there's issues with the American situation at the moment with Trump and the tariffs and all the rest of it. I'm not quite sure why that would then impact Europe and Australia, because the price increase isn't going to America at this point. Whether they're trying to offset that cost through us, I'm not sure. But the strangest part about it is, like, when you look at every other past console generation, by the time you're 4, 5, 6 years deep into the cycle, they're massively reducing the cost of the consoles to try and get as many people on board late, so that they can then start hyping them up for the next console. And it's not only just that, but over the 5 years that, or near enough, that the PS5 has been out, you would anticipate, and this has always been the case in the past, is that the manufacture cost of those components becomes cheaper and cheaper and cheaper because they're outdated. Ultimately, it's 5-year-old, capacitors, it's 5-year-old architecture, and all the rest of the stuff that goes with it. So I can't understand why the price of that hasn't gone down, at least to offset any required price increase, let alone what we have seen in the past, as I said, as a price drop. So strange decision for me, especially on the back of, I haven't seen, this is just the digital version though, so I haven't seen whether the PS5 Pro is getting a price increase, which
I believe I read a statement today that said the PS5 Pro wasn't changing its price.
Yeah, so, and that might be where they're sort of trying to get people into that. I'm not sure, but I'm not sure you could have jacked up the price on that anymore. It was a fair bit of sticker shock when that first came out. So
yeah,
strange strange decision, to be honest with you, and especially given that we had last week the release price of the Nintendo Switch 2, that this is jacking up the price higher than the console price for that on a 5-year-old console.
Well, that's an interesting point, man. Maybe they saw the price of the Switch 2 and they just did some sort of business analysis on it and went, we can jack up the price of our console.
But it's actually more expensive than the Switch 2. Like, if they had made it at
it's
a parity,
also more powerful than the Switch 2. This is my point.
Well,
like, when the Switch 1 came out, it was power-wise less powerful than the PS4, but there was a price difference there of, I don't even know the percentages. I'm going to wildly guess it was 15% more expensive to buy a PS4 a couple of years in than it was to buy a brand new Switch on launch day. Maybe they've looked at that and gone, oh, we're actually 5% lower than we were last gen. Let's increase by 5% to keep that same buffer between the new Switch console and our base console.
Well, see, but I would have thought you would have gone the other way. Like, if I was Sony, I'd be going, okay, this is the price. Like, it's $450 US for the Switch 2. I would have gone, well, let's cut them off at the knees and let's reduce our price by down to $400 US. And undercut them and say, hey, fantastic, you've got this new console out, good luck to you, but we're going to drop our price and we're going to continue to hammer you and keep the pressure up and keep the pressure up. Now, if that was me, that's the way I would have gone, and I would have thought, as I said before, that the manufacture cost over the years has come down, that would allow you to do that. But
I agree with you, mate, but doesn't it sound like somebody in the finance department that would say, hey, last time we still moved what did they end up selling PS4s? 125 million? What was the last number they released? 150 million units sold, maybe?
No, it's about 125, 130, I think. So
yeah, right. But they would have moved, I'm making up numbers here, but say they moved 80 million units of the PS4 after the Switch 1 launched at a, 20% overprice based on the Switch 1's launch price. They'd be like, hey, we can move another 80 million units of the PS5, and we know we can be 20% over the Switch price and still move 80 million units. Let's up the price and let's not leave money on the table.
Yeah, I suppose the only difference with that though is that by the stage that the original Switch came out, the base cost of the PS5 had already been reduced from the launch price. So it was under the launch price as it was, even though it may still have been above the Switch cost. It was still a reduction from the initial launch price. So
that's fair.
You were under that to start with. Whereas now we're talking about what did I say? That the digital edition in Australia is $750. So that's basically I'm trying to think off the top of my head whether it was. I think it was about 700 Australian.
Sorry?
The PS5 on release was about 700 Australian.
I thought it was 8 or 850, or am I thinking of the disc version?
It might have been the disc version, but in any event, so even if it was 800 for the launch in Australia, you're now only $50 under that for a discless version, which doesn't to me really stack up that it's 5-year-old technology.
But yeah, for an extra, $120, you can add a disk drive to it, Billy. Or is that going up as well?
No, funnily enough, that's reduced by $50. So they've jacked the price on the consoles, but they've reduced the price of the disk drive that 6 months ago no one could get when the Pro was released. So I don't know.
It's chaos, Billy. It's chaos.
I don't know.
All right, mate. That'll do it for news. Can you please tell me, sir, what has been happening in that there YouTube chat, sir?
We've been a bit light on, but I think we might have had a error in the chat because I've continually had problems jumping into it. So that may be an error. If you were trying to jump on and you couldn't, we'll be back 8:30 next week.
Apologies.
If you had any questions for this week, by more than welcome to throw them in for next week, and we'll get to them when and if we can. And when we do jump on next week, jump into that chat and I'll be all over it.
Maybe if I hadn't gotten so distracted by Red Dead Redemption, I could have correctly loaded the stream metadata in and we wouldn't have had this chat error. Sorry, users. I have mucked up left, right, and center on this show. It's all my fault. I'm sorry. So sorry. But thank you very much for joining us. for another episode of the Gaming Enforcement Agency. We'll be back next Thursday, 8:30 p.m. I'm not sure, and I'm terrible at scheduling, so maybe Unky Dunky will be here, maybe he won't. Bully, will you be joining us, mate?
Pretty sure I will be. I'll have to double check, but I'm fairly certain I will be.
Oh, well, in theme with Easter, it'll be a nice surprise for everyone who's here next week on the show.
Actually, I will be because I got a very early start on the Friday, so I will be here on the Thursday night.
Perfect. I'll do
Anzac
my best.
Day in Australia next Friday.
There we go.
Very, very early start next Friday.
I'll do my best to run on schedule next Friday so I don't reduce your sleeping hours to 2 before your big shift.
Would be appreciated.
Thank you very much for watching. Keep checking the channel all week. There'll be more installs going up left, right, and center every day. Hey, Bully, what else could you do with Geek Aloud?
Like it, subscribe it. You never miss it.